Kansas wheat harvest will be the smallest since 1957, and the U.S. corn is being absolutely devastated by drought. But let's remember, the population of the United States is way bigger than it was in 1957. Michael Snyder reports significantly higher food prices are coming because U.S. food production is going to be way below normal levels this year. That is really bad news because food prices are already absurdly high. In some cases, people are paying as much for a full shopping cart full of food as they did for a used vehicle in the old days. I wish that I was exaggerating, but I am not. Unfortunately, food prices are only going to go higher because farmers and ranchers are being hit extremely hard from coast to coast. For example, it's being reported that wheat farmers in Kansas will reap their smallest harvest in more than 60 years. Kansas has been called the country's breadbasket. Now wheat farmers in the state will reap their smallest harvest in more than 60 years. This will go directly down the chain from farmers to consumers at the grocery store. Kansas normally produces more wheat than any other U.S. state by a wide margin, but now the harvest in that state will be the smallest that we have seen since 1957. For the last 2 years, a drought has withered a lot of the crop. Now this year's wheat harvest in Kansas is shaping up to be the smallest since 1957. That year, the Eisenhower administration intentionally suppressed wheat production. There were 166 million people living in the United States in 1957. Today there are 331 million people. So that's, as you can understand, twice the population. So who is going to volunteer to give up eating wheat this year so that others can consume what they normally do? At this point, things are so bad that we are being told that flour mills in Kansas, quote, will likely have to buy wheat grown in Eastern Europe, end quote. Kansas flour mills will likely have to buy wheat grown in Eastern Europe. For decades, Kansas has led the nation in wheat production. The U.S. leads the world in wheat exports as well. This is a major problem. But can't we all just eat more corn instead? After all, corn is already in thousands upon thousands of different products that Americans consume on a regular basis. Well, it turns out that corn production is being greatly affected by drought as well. The following comes from a Newsweek article entitled, "Corn Prices Set to Soar After Midwest Hit by Worst Drought in 30 Years." An unusually dry May in the Midwest has raised concerns over this year's crop corn in the Corn Belt, the region stretching from the panhandle of Texas up to North Dakota and east to Ohio, which dominates the country's corn production. For a long time I've been warning that Dust Bowl conditions would return to the middle of the country, and now we are there. Extremely dry conditions are being accompanied by unusually hot temperatures, and this combination is causing all sorts of havoc for corn farmers. The USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service recently reported increasingly dry topsoil, poor pasture conditions in Missouri, and limited moisture for newly planted crops. We have very high temperatures all the way up through the northern plains in the Midwest, which impacts more than just corn and soybeans. It's impacting all of the crops as well. Kurt Covington, Senior Director of Partner Relations at Ag America, America's largest non-bank agricultural lender, told Newsweek. We desperately need rain, and lots of it. More than a third of all U.S. corn production is in areas that are currently experiencing drought, and the situation is especially dire in the Corn Belt states. According to the U.S. Drought Monitor, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Ohio, and Wisconsin, often called the Corn Belt states, are experiencing exceptional drought to moderate drought. The timing of the drought this early in the season could stress young plants. Normally, if there is going to be serious drought in the middle of the country, we see it later in the year. So the fact that there is much drought this early in 2023 is a really bad sign. Of course, this is not just wheat and corn farmers that are suffering. The size of the U.S. beef cow herd is the smallest since 1962. The orange harvest in Florida will be approximately 56% smaller than last year. Thanks to extremely bizarre weather, Approximately 90% of Georgia's peach crop for 2023 has been destroyed. Most Americans don't realize that things have gotten so bad. If you do not know how to grow a garden, you might want to learn. Food prices are already painfully high, and they are only going to go higher. And this is all happening in the context of the worst global food crisis in modern history. Hunger has been spreading around the world like wildfire, and Yahoo News is reporting that last year there was a 33% spike in the number of people facing hunger globally. The 2023 Global Report on Food Crises, which published its findings last month, found that last year saw a 33% spike in the number of people facing hunger globally from the previous year, up from 193 million people in 53 countries and territories in 2021. It was also the fourth consecutive year that an increasing number of people experienced phase 3 or above food insecurity, which designates their situation as serious, according to the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, IPC, a tool for improving food security analysis and decision-making. Sadly, this is just the beginning. Due to multiple long-term trends, which I discuss in my latest book, global famine has become inevitable. No matter what decisions our leaders make now, they are not going to be able to keep global food production from collapsing in the years ahead. They know this, but they don't want anyone to freak out. I would greatly encourage everyone to start becoming less dependent on the system and more self-sufficient. Global food supplies are going to keep getting tighter and tighter, and once we get to a real crisis point, you will want to be able to take care of yourself, your family, and those that will be depending on you. And this is by Michael Snyder. He says about the author, my name is Michael, and my brand new book entitled End Times is now available on Amazon. In addition to my new book, I have written 6 other books that are available on Amazon, including 7-Year Apocalypse, Lost Prophecies of the Future of America, The Beginning of the End, and Living a Life That Really Matters, Commissions Earned. When you purchase any of these books, you help to support the work that I'm doing, and one way that you can really help is by sending copies as gifts to family and friends. Time is short, and I need help getting these warnings into the hands of as many people as possible. I have also started a brand new Substack newsletter, and I encourage you to subscribe so that you won't miss any of my articles. I have published thousands of articles on the Economic Collapse blog, End of the American Dream, and the Most Important News, and the articles that I publish on those sites are republished on dozens of other prominent websites all over the globe. I always freely and happily allow others to republish my articles on their own websites, but I also ask that they include this about the author section with each article. The material contained in this article is for general information purposes only, and readers should consult licensed professionals before making any legal, business, financial, or health decisions. I encourage you to follow me on social media, Facebook and Twitter, and any way that you can share these articles with others is definitely a great help. These are such troubled times and people need hope. John 3:16 tells us about the hope that God has given us through Jesus Christ. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. If you have not already done so, I strongly urge you to invite Jesus Christ to be your Lord and Savior today. This is on the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.